In the last couple of episodes, we've been looking at the equation, the two sides of the equation which get you a job. Last time we looked at merit. This time we're looking at likability. Do not underestimate likability. It is at least half the battle and sometimes more. Good reasons for this. I mean, if I'm interviewing for somebody to work closely with me, I will see this person every day for the next 3 months, 6 months, year, 5 years, 10 years. I will see this person more than I will see my family, more than I will see my friends. This person will be a major player in my life. I will not choose somebody who I don't like, who I don't make a connection with. It doesn't matter how much merit they have. If there is no connection, there will be no job. If you're the sort of person who's getting interviews, you've got the merit, so you're getting interviews, but you're not getting the job. The chances are the place where you're missing out is in likability. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not a likable person. What it probably means is you are concentrating so much on getting the right answer, seeing the interview as some sort of oral exam, concentrating on the right answer, that you are not giving any attention at all to making connection with the people who are interviewing you, and you need to make that connection. Let me give you a graphic illustration of this. I started on for a series of interviews for an engineer, a specialist engineer, and so special in fact they only had 3 people who they could interview. They interviewed 3 men. Now, as I sat watching the interviews, one of these men was absolutely outstanding on their merit. At the end of the interviews, they said to me, "Okay, Philip, just as a matter of interest, if you were choosing, who would you choose?" I said, "Well, so lay down was there. This guy is absolutely outstanding." And they said, "Yeah, we thought you'd say that. We're actually choosing this other guy." So I asked them, "Well, hang on. How can you in one breath acknowledge to me that this person's outstanding, then in the very next breath tell me you're not choosing that person, you're choosing somebody else?" They said, "We think we can work with this guy. We think we can work with this guy. We liked him more than the other guy. The other guy had all the merit, wasn't likable, didn't get the job." So we need to explore this further then. Who do you like? Sometimes there's no science in this. Sometimes the judgment's wrong. I've got friends who I didn't care for when I first met them. Turns out one of us was having a bad day. Now we get on famously. But the problem with the interview, you're not going to get a second chance. The likability factor has to be up this time. So we need to explore, who do you like? There are 3 boxes here we need to tick. There is one box where we have to stay well away from, avoid at all costs, and there's something we have to be wary of. Now, the 3 things we have to do, we have to get over at this interview, which will help us make a connection with the interviewers. The first one is honesty. Absolutely crucial at interview. Not many of us have got friends like this. Here's Billy, lovely guy, just don't leave anything lying around. They never ask you at interview, do they? They never say, "Are you honest?" "No, I'm not actually, but I'm working on it. I'm hoping to improve." That'd be a really honest answer. I'm not sure what they do with that answer. But you leave the room and they will comment on you. That person's very honest. That person had a lot of integrity. How do they know? They don't know this. There's no meter for the honesty. It's an impression. But it's an important impression. In fact, it's so important that there's a particular spot in the interview where we actually have to tell them that we're honest. We can't leave it to their impression. And when we get onto the questions and answers in later episodes, I will show you clearly where to actually go straight to honesty to let them know that you're honest. Second one, sense of humour. Displaying a sense of humour is crucial at an interview. You have to do it at least once. You can do it twice, but no more than twice. Thing is, it doesn't have to be that funny. It just has to tick a little box that says, "I've got a sense of humour. Relax, you can work with me." If you're the sort of person who's never going to be able to display a sense of humour, you might be just too nervous at interview or see it as too big a risk. There is a cheat's way out. When we get to the questions and answers later, if you're not able to actually display a sense of humour, I'll show you how to get past that problem. If you are a person who is able to display a sense of humour in an interview, Remember, it doesn't have to be that funny, so keep it safe. Don't be going out on a limb. Save your zany self until the day after you get the job, and certainly don't be going around offending people, insulting people at interview. I watched a series of interviews for a project manager. They were interviewing a man. He was asked a stock standard question, a question which would get asked nearly every time he goes to interview. He should have seen it coming. He should have had a good answer sitting waiting for this question. They asked him, okay, let's say you get this job as a project manager and you're working with us and you're managing a project for us and you are substantially into the project. Let's say you're 30% of the way through the project. And at that point, the client changes their mind about a crucial component of the project. How would you deal with that? Now, that's a day in the office for a project manager. Happens all the time. They should have seen it coming. They should have a good answer. This man said, this client wouldn't be a woman, would it? That went down like a lead balloon. There was a woman on the interview panel. She nearly got whiplash. Her head came up so quickly. And you could see her figuratively just drawing a line through his name, ruling him out. That little quip cost him the job. We have to display a sense of humour, but we don't want the humour to keep us further from getting this job. The third thing we have to show is some motivation, some passion. We like people who have some motivation to them. We like people who have some energy. We want people who want to be here. So when I'm talking about passion, I'm not just talking about passion in the whole of your life. I don't want you to be passionate about the hobby that you do on weekends. I need to see some motivation, some passion that actually intersects with this job, that you actually want to be here. I'll show you where I learned this. I was watching a series of interviews for a very simple process work position. They interviewed a man for the job, and his previous job had been process work, and in his previous job he'd been making breadcrumbs, commercial breadcrumbs for sale at a large bakery. So they just mentioned that in passing. They said to him, no, okay, at your last job you were doing process work, you were making breadcrumbs? He said, yes, I was. And he proceeded to start talking about breadcrumbs. He told us about plain breadcrumbs, wholemeal breadcrumbs, savoury breadcrumbs. He talked about the season for breadcrumbs, when they were busy, when they weren't busy, how he always would take his holidays in May because it was the least busiest month. We learnt more about breadcrumbs than we ever wanted to know. But can I tell you, they loved him for it. They absolutely loved him for the fact he was passionate about his previous work, and they knew that he would bring that passion to this job. There's facing some interesting issues here, because we like people who are confident. And in fact, if you're not confident in your ability to do this job, if you don't display your confidence in the ability to do this job at interview, why would we be confident you can do the job? If you're not confident, we won't be confident. So you have to display some confidence in your ability to do the job. But in displaying that confidence, if you stray too far and you stumble into arrogance and conceit, it will cost you dearly. So balance is a key word here. We like people who are honest. We don't like bleeding hearts. We like people with a sense of humour. We don't like people who are frivolous. We like people who are passionate, motivated, but we don't like people who are tiring in those energies. You need to work on the balance as well. The one thing you have to be careful of, which I want to spend a little bit of time talking to you about, is the reflection factor. Who do you like? You like people who look like you. You ever want to test this? Go to any restaurant at any given night and see groups of friends dining together. And by and large, not all the time, but by and large, they will reflect each other. They will come from similar socioeconomic backgrounds, similar cultures, similar educations, and so on. I look at my friends. Every single one of my friends looks like me. Now, I never set out. It was the furthest thing from my mind was setting out to find a group of people who look like me to be friends with. Not something that I would ever consider. We just naturally gravitate to people who reflect ourselves. Now, how you choose your friends, that's your business. I don't care how you choose your friends. Choose your friends any way you like. But when that spills over in how we choose workers, it's wrong. And it's wrong for all sorts of reasons. The main reason being, it actually stops us getting the best person for this job. Now, the real problem for you then is if you are, where we can use this reflection factor, if you are being interviewed by people who you do not reflect, then you have to work hard at that interview and consciously minimize the differences and maximize the things you have in common. I was coaching a man, Kumar, originally from India. Kumar had excellent skills on a world scale, excellent specialist skills, couldn't get a job. He said to me at this point, he said, Philip, I think this is where I've been making a big mistake in the likability factor, in the reflection factor. Just recently they asked me, do I smoke? And I said, no, I don't. And I don't eat meat. And I don't add sugar or salt to my diet. In fact, I only have brown rice and fresh vegetables. I thought they would be impressed that I was such a pious man. Pious. When was the last time you heard pious in a conversation which didn't have a pope in it? I said, Kumar, no. They're looking at you and they're thinking, you look different, you sound different, you won't fit in around here. And he's saying, I look different, I sound different, I'm even more different than you even thought I was, really. I'm surprisingly different. I'll almost certainly not fit in around here. He was maximising the difference when he should have been minimising it. What I got him to do at his next interviews is to minimise that difference. In the small talk, I got him to fit in that he had a barbecue on the weekend, that he went to watch his kids play sport at the weekend. I look different, I sound different. The reality is I'm no different to you. Minimise that difference, he got a job after that.